Next, let's look at the rotor incomplete sentence blank, short for RSB. The RSB is a semi-structured project test. It consists of 40 items, each containing a sentence stem that examinees use to create a complete sentence dealing with them. The RSB has a vigorous and a systematic coding system that Richard has shown shows pretty high inter-scorer reliability. Now, what it is after all? Let's see 5 sentences. Okay? My best character is my mother, my father. My biggest fear, my mother is best for whatever. Please complete sentences. Now you may want to participate this as well. You may complete your sentences. Okay? I give you some time to complete them. Well, you have completed yours. Good. Thank you for participating. Thank you for your cooperation. Let's see what has been completed by one of my students who did this before. My best character is I am very hardworking. My mother is not confident of herself. My father is rude and controlling. My biggest fear is people will look down upon me. My mother is best for understand me anytime. Just these 5 sentences. I don't know what you have completed this sentence for. Let's see the analysis. The personality traits potentially reflected of these sentences include conscientious, inferiority complex, low self-esteem, yearning for understanding and empathy, and conflicts with father or man. So whatever you put on is actually a projection of your attitudes toward people around you. And this is exactly what projective test is for. So even though it's hard to establish validity and reliability for the test, but you can quickly find something that is useful for your clinical purposes. So RSB responses are scored as to the degree of conflict expressed, the amount of optimism shown in the sentences, the presence of qualifying statements, means to elaborate on what is happening, and the length of responses and omissions. And then the total score is summed up over all of them, which provides a measure of general emotional functioning or adjustment. And in the coding, you can see this manual of the coding. Incomplete items are not scored. Okay, conflict score scores 4, 5, 6. The higher the conflict, the higher the score is. Healthy is 1, 2, 3. The lower score is the more positive. Neutral is 3, and add 1 point for long responses. Now the numerical scoring was not really used. People find easier ways to code and interpret the results. I myself used the sentence completion test in my teaching and clinical work a lot. And I even simplified this to some other forms, like for significant other test, and I can quickly know what your hidden criteria or your expectations for friendship, for self-actualization, for parental relationship and for interpersonal intimacy, whatever. Using the same format, but not so complicated scoring system. Okay, so that's the RSB. Next, I want to introduce you to someone that's been widely used. It's called draw a person or draw a picture as a start. The draw stands for DAP, okay? DAP is based on Julian's drawing of human figures. This test can be used with two different scoring systems for different purposes. One measures nonverbal intelligence, while the other screen for emotional or behavioral disorders. Drawings obtained from a child during a single administration may be used for both systems, and during the testing session, which can be completed in about 50 minutes, a child is asked to draw three figures, a man, a woman, and himself or herself, or whatever. And you can draw something like this. And from your drawing of your mom, your dad, yourself, or anyone, your classmate, your teacher, and we could identify some internal conflicts or fear or expectation, okay? Whether you like the person, you hate the person, even though the child may not be so keen on drawing people. And there are pretty sophisticated ways of interpreting them in the beginning. So in the draw person, there was the qualitative scoring system, assesses the intellectual ability by analyzing 14 different aspects of the drawings, such as the specific body parts, the clothing, and for various criteria, including presence or absence, or details, or proportion. And in all, there are 64 scoring items for each drawing. A separate standard scoring is recorded for each one, and a total score for all three. This was how it was initially set up. For instance, for the body part, for instance, for the head size, it could be reflected of impulse control, perceived intellectual ability. And for the eyes, it could be self-concept, self-confidence, paranoia, self-doubt. And for the hair, it could be reflected of validity, potential sexual problems, or mouth, it could be eating problems, alcoholism. For leg and feet, it could be amount of support, aggression, or sex. Human arm and head, contact with the environment, openness. It could be for the finger, ability to manipulate, experience others. And facial expressions, fear, hatred, regression, weakness. Okay. Now, gradually, the paintings no longer just draw a person. The AP is to draw a person, a house, a tree. Okay, it's called HFP. As we say in Chinese, 房树人. And the various complicated scoring methods are developed by different people. I myself used the technique in my teaching and clinical works for many years and have developed my own method of coding based on what has been developed before. My own approach emphasizes very much on being projective, communicative, rather than speculative during the interpretation of the drawings, or different parts of the drawing. For my recommendations for how to conduct analysis for drawing house, tree, person, okay, first we'll start with the arrange analysis. That means the whole picture of where house is placed, where the person is placed, or where the tree is placed, or whatever other components that are placed. Okay. And then the details analysis is the specific of each component. There is a sequence analysis, which one is drawn first, which is drawn second. And this proportional analysis, and the size proportion of each component. Okay. There was addition analysis, what has been added to the painting, even though I only ask you to draw a house, tree, person, but you add a pond with a lot of fish, you also add sun, you also add birds, you also add mountain, whatever, as additional, that could also be meaningful. And also the alteration analysis, that means anything that's revision or revised to the drawing, and you just rub it off, you draw it again. And the line analysis, thin lines of drawing, all could be symbolic of your behavioral reaction patterns or traits. Having said all of this, let's look at a picture. Now, what do you see here? Now you can see this is a cat house. You never see a cat house before. And then there were 2 trees. On each tree there were 4 apples, probably. And there was a lady sitting to the back of a tree on the left. And you do not think there was an apple dropping on her head. This is actually the sequence she drew. Okay, the sequence she drew. First, they draw the house. Second, he draw the tree on the right hand, and then she draw the tree on the left hand, and then she draw the person. The girl sitting by the tree draw a river in front of the tree, in front of the house. Now, what do you think this picture will reflect? And what do you think this painter projects her hidden desires, expectations, or personalities onto this drawing? Well, we can see with the pursuit of child interest, like performance of a cat house, with yearning for living alone, the room is in the center of the painting. There was a desire for leisure, reading by the trees. There was a care for even numbers, pairs, like 4 apples, both trees, and 4 knots of the smoke. And what about the potential personality traits and in desire reflected? Innocence, immature, independence, retiring, and desiring for intimate relationship. Well, this is why you see the projective tests are so popular among clinicians, because you immediately identify some topics for the discussion. Let's know the person who draws this picture is actually a young lady, 28 years old, a preschool teacher, unmarried. It's probably by her occupation she lost a cat house, and you probably saw her occupation that makes her appear so childlike, or hoping for some leisure and simplicity in life. Well, you see, this is all reflected. And so this is why projective tests, even though they cannot establish validity and reliability, they cannot have a trustworthy standardization, but they are hugely popular among clinicians because clinicians can quickly identify issues through the drawing. Okay, projective test.